So good afternoon again. My name is John Costanzo. I'm the Chief Administrative Officer for the COVA CCI. We are part of the larger Commonwealth Cyber Initiative, and I just wanted to thank all of the students that completed your research papers as part of our undergraduate cybersecurity research program. I know it was a lot of work putting this together, and I know we have one or two mentors that are on the meeting right now. So thanks for the work that you've been doing with the students and getting them prepared for this. I really appreciate the time you put into it too. So we're going to go ahead and jump into this. Just for ground rules, just when you come up, I'm going to show share my slides here. And when you see your name pop up, just go ahead and start the presentation. I have all the slides on the slide deck, and I will be moving them. So all you have to do is tell me to move forward. And can you guys still see that screen, or did I mess it up? Okay. All right. So I'm trying to readjust everything. So I'm going to go ahead and start the slideshow and get going on this. So again, introduce yourself when it's your turn to come forward with your presentation. And then just say what school you're with, and then jump right into the presentation. And tell me next slide when you want me to advance. So as we go forward, get my slides working. So this is the order that we're going to be doing the slides in. So, and you'll have about 5 minutes. I know some people go over a little bit, which is fine. So I'll work the slides. If you start going too far over that 5-minute mark, I'll let you know. I'll interrupt you and let you know. So try and keep the 5 to 8 minutes of this, and we'll get through this hopefully within about an hour and a half to 2 hours. So with that, we're going to jump right into it, and I'm going to bring up our first presenter. Just unmute yourself and listen, do a quick introduction, who you are, what your degree is, what school you're with, and then jump into your topics. So Alyssa, you're our first one up.
Hi, I'm Alyssa Carroll, and I'm a junior at Christopher Newport University, and I'm studying computer science.
Great.
I did my research on biometrics in cybersecurity. Next slide. So just a quick overview of biometrics. Basically, it's the automated recognition of individuals based on their biological or behavioral traits. Things like fingerprints, retina scans, facial recognition, and even DNA. People want both security and convenience, which is why biometrics are becoming more popular lately, and facial recognition is the one that's most commonly used today. Next slide. When it comes to storing biometric data, there are two main approaches. The first one is on-device storage, and this is when data is stored locally on something like your smartphone. It's kept in a secure chip and protected by encryption layers, and this method helps reduce the risk of breaches. The second option is storing the data on centralized servers. These are used more for larger systems that need access across multiple locations, but they're also more vulnerable to attacks, especially if they aren't following the GDPR approach, which is the General Data Protection Regulation law that's made by the European Union, and it's basically just a set of rules that govern data privacy and protection. Next slide. Some concerns with biometrics is, first of all, the biometric traits are unique and unchangeable. You can't reset, or you can reset your password if it gets breached, but you can't reset your DNA or your fingerprints. If biometric data gets leaked, it can lead to identity theft and other privacy issues. And the mental health angle, constant surveillance and fear of privacy invasion can cause anxiety and depression. And finally, if government agencies have unrestricted access to sensitive data, and if the data is breached or if they misuse the data, it can have much more serious consequences for people. Next slide. Some approaches and policies. There's currently no overarching federal law in the US that regulates biometric data. States like Illinois have BIPA, which is one of the strongest state level laws. It requires consent and mandates deletion of users' data. The FTC has started to warn companies about misuse, but that still lean towards the reactive side, not proactive. And agencies like the DHS tend to prioritize national security over privacy. And then jumping over to global perspectives, there's the GDPR that I mentioned before, and it puts the responsibility on companies instead of the individuals, and the US could adopt a similar model from this. Visual cryptography. Researchers are working on hybrid approaches to protect biometric data. One method uses random grid visual cryptography along with techniques like steganography and chaotic permutations. It sounds complicated, but the idea is to hide the data in a way that's still accurate and usable, but a lot harder for hackers to come in and steal. Next slide. Some of the challenges of implementing these approaches are cost, encryption, and balancing access with security. Building and maintaining these systems is expensive, especially for organizations with limited budgets. Second, if biometric encryption fails, that data might be permanently lost. It's not like you can just reissue a fingerprint. And then there's tricky balances between security and access. You want to protect the data, but still allow the authorized users to access it. Next. To sum it all up, biometric data is convenient, but it's risky because it can't be changed. That makes it a big target for cyber attacks. We need better encryption methods and more cost-effective ways to secure the data. And moving forward, we really need to balance innovation with individual privacy, because that's going to be the key to building public trust in biometric technologies. Next. And that's it for my presentation. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much. So next up is going to be Archana.
Yeah, hi. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Archie. I'm a junior at William and Mary, majoring in physics and math. Next slide, please. And today I'll be presenting my research on learning with errors parameter analysis. Next slide, please. So currently we're facing a significant challenge in cryptography. We have the imminent arrival of large-scale quantum computers that are threatening our public key cryptographic infrastructure, particularly systems like RSA, which is based on integer factorization, and Diffie-Hellman, which is discrete logarithm problems. And these quantum computers leverage qubits instead of traditional bits, and this allows unprecedented parallel processing power. So in response to this threat, post-quantum cryptography has emerged as a critical research area. Lattice-based cryptography in particular has become a leading candidate for post-quantum security. And just last year, NIST published the first standardized post-quantum cryptographic method. And so building upon this area of research, my work focuses on analyzing concrete trade-offs between security levels and computational efficiency in the learning with errors implementations. Next slide, please. So just a quick overview of what the learning with errors problem is. So we have a private key in the system, which is a secret vector. And this has been embedded into a set of noisy linear equations. So you can see on the slide, that's a simple example. For a secret vector S, we might have equations like 14 times S1 plus 15 times S2, so on, is approximately equal to 8 mod 17. That's modular arithmetic. Where S1 through S4 are like different entries within the secret vector. So the operative word here is approximately. These equations contain intentional errors that make traditional linear algebra approaches ineffective, like row reduction will amplify these errors and the solution will be meaningless. So there are 4 key parameters that I investigated to that's to see if it affects both security and efficiency. The dimension n, which is the number of rows and columns of the lattice, which forms a matrix. The modulus q, which we use to perform modular arithmetic. The error distribution type, I tested Gaussian, uniform, and binomial. And finally, the error standard deviation sigma, which controls the range of noise added. Next, please. So for our analysis, we implemented 2 custom classes in SageMath, a learning with errors generator and a BKZ attack simulator. So the BKZ attack simulator, just as an overview, is an algorithm that is a standard lattice reduction that is used to test various encryption schemes and is commonly used. So the dimensions range from 64 up to 2048. Modulus values, you can see them listed there, are all large primes that are used in practical implementations of the learning with errors problem. Again, the 3 error distributions discussed earlier. And for our attack testing, we used BKZ block sizes of 20 and 30, and these are like dimension sizes. Yes, and so our metrics that we used were security level bits, which was using a formula based on the BKZ algorithm, computational efficiency measured in execution time, and memory requirements, which was based on the space needed to store the public key matrix and vectors. Next, please. So here are some of our key findings related to error and memory. So the first related to error distribution. So interestingly, the type of distribution, the 3 that we tested, had no significant impact on security levels. However, there were notable difference with computational overhead and memory. The binomial distribution showed better performance at lower standard deviation values, but had steep increases, as you can see in the figure to the left, as dimension increased. And where the binomial distribution required more processing time. Regarding memory requirements, we observed an exponential increase relative to dimension size. And this confirmed our theoretical predictions. And surprisingly, we also found a significant jump in memory requirements when the modulus Q increased from 12,289 to 65,537, which is likely related to computer memory allocation. Next, please. So, and these are some of our key findings related to security and attacks. So when it comes to security, our findings highlight that dimension is incredibly important, that security bits increase exponentially with dimension n, and there's a particularly dramatic increase in this, as you can see in this figure, past n equals 1024, and it far outpaces the memory requirements. For our BKZ attack testing, we found that both the beta sizes were unsuccessful even with a low dimension. Which shows that even though that dimension size is so small, theoretically, it's still able to hold up against it. I also attempted an attack with a beta size of 40, but I had to terminate it after like 36 hours of runtime because it was not going to finish. So yeah, next please. So in conclusion, our analysis reveals several important insights for parameter selection. So distribution type the 3 that we tested didn't significantly impact security, but it does impact computational performance. Dimension is the most critical parameter for security, particularly beyond n equals 1024. And also that memory requirements follow predicted patterns, but have specific thresholds where requirements suddenly increase due to bit size allocation. So for future research, we recommend extending this to ring learning with errors and modular learning with errors, can test against newer, more efficient attack algorithms beyond BKZ, and also leveraging HPCs to test larger block sizes for attack resistance. So yeah, that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Sorry, I jumped aside. So Ben, you're up next.
Sorry, I think I just disconnected, but I'll go right now.
Yeah, you're
Hi,
good.
everyone.
You're perfect.
Okay.
We got you.
My name is Ben. I'm a junior at William and Mary. I'm studying data science and finance, and we can go to the next slide. So the topic that I researched was Benford's law and machine learning to be utilized for financial fraud detection. You probably have not heard of Benford's law, but that is something that I'll introduce in this presentation. And we can go to the next slide. So this is an overview of my presentation. First, I'm going to talk about Benford's law. Then I'm going to talk about machine learning and the three different models that I used to test whether Benford's law could be used for financial fraud detection. Then I'm going to talk about the research objectives I had, then the data and pre-processing, so the data set that I actually worked on. And yeah, then I'm also going to go over the other stuff which you can read. So next slide. So what is Benford's law? So this is a mathematical law that my dad actually introduced to me because he's a math professor. And basically what it is it's a little bit unintuitive, but the first digit of a large number is a lot more likely to be one than any other number. So you can see in the chart that says Benford's law for leading digits that the number one in large numbers appears a lot more for the first digit appears a lot more often than the number nine. And I think the easiest way for me to explain this is let's say that a company is earning $100 million in revenue. It's a lot easier for a company to earn $100 million in revenue and in the $100 million of revenue than versus the $900 million of revenue. Like there's a lot less companies that earn that. And so therefore the number one, just in any naturally occurring number, is going to be more likely to appear than any other number. And it's sort of like a logarithmic distribution. So you can see the highest probability is one, and then it goes down from there. So yeah, so this is a naturally occurring phenomenon in unmanipulated data sets. And what makes this interesting is that when we see large deviations from Benford's law, so let's say the number one only appear in the leading digit only appears 10% of the time, that is a strong indicator that there is a manipulation of the data because in naturally occurring numbers, the number one is going to appear on average around 30 times. So this is something that we can use to detect fraud. We can go to the next slide. So machine learning, this is a term that I'm pretty sure everyone has heard of at some point. Uh, yeah, it's basically just where algorithms can use data to make predictions. And so for my research, we can see my kind of chart didn't really get formatted that well, but I used three models that I learned in my classes. The first being logistic regression, the second being KNN, and the third being random forest. For the sake of time, I'm not going to go super in detail into them, but those are the three models that I chose because I was most familiar with them. We can go next slide. So what were my research objectives? So my first was, can Benford's law detect anomalies in credit card data? So can it detect if um, credit card data, is it fraudulent or not? And can Benford's law do that? And I also wanted to look at the three different machine learning models that I used to see which model performs best. Then ultimately, is this combination between Benford's law and machine learning and utilizing them together, is that an effective approach to detect fraud? Next slide. So what is the data that I actually worked on? So the data set that I worked on was a data set from Kaggle. It had 284,000 transactions, but only out of those transactions, only 492 fraud cases. And when I tried like running the machine learning algorithms based on that, I mean, it didn't really have any predictive power. So I did use something called SMOTE, which helps rebalance the data synthetically. So basically, the analysis that I did used SMOTE, and that made it so that there is an equal number of fraud cases and equal number of non-fraud cases. I also standardized the data, and yeah, that's some of the pre-processing that I did. So methodology. So what I'm going to do is apply Benford's law to the transaction amounts. I'm going to use it to flag if there are anomalies and deviations from Benford's law. And then I'm going to train the three machine learning algorithms based on that. Next slide. So here are my results. You can see on the chart on the right, what that shows is the credit card data and whether it and the observed leading digits in the data versus in Benford's law. And you can see that there is indeed a pretty good conformance. You can see that for Benford's law for 1, it's around 31%. We'll start with 1, whereas for the data that we saw in the credit card data, it was around 35%, which is pretty good. So it does follow it to a pretty large degree. And on the chart on the bottom, we can see, so the red line is, I know I'm going a little bit over time, but so let me go fast. But the red line is the fraud data, and you can see that the fraud data, 45% of it is the leading digit is 1, which is way off from Benford's law. And so that does show that fraud data does conform less to Benford's law than non-fraud data. And when I calculated the chi-squared, that indeed showed that the fraud data, the chi-squared was like 5 times greater than the non-fraud data. When looking at the performance of the machine learning algorithms that I use, logistic regression was the weakest, with an AUC of 0.53, which essentially shows like not much predictive power in this scenario. And then KNN was in the middle, and then random forest for this case was the best, with an AUC of 0.98. We can go next slide. So why does this combination work? And so Benford's law, you can kind of use it to help flag if data is suspicious early on. So if you have a data set that like just completely does not follow Benford's law, it's like an early screener to be like, okay, this data is fraudulent and I need to take a deeper look into it. And then upon doing that, you could use the machine learning algorithms that I mentioned, like random forest, and that could help discover which items are fraud and which are not fraud. And yeah, I think when combined, they can be used in an effective manner. So next slide. So this is my final slide. In conclusion, integrating Benford's law with machine learning can create accurate fraud detection. And of the models that machine learning models that I chose, random forest did perform the best. And ultimately, I do think that Benford's law and using that incongruence with different machine learning algorithms does have like real potential for banks and financial institutions. So that's my presentation, and thank you for listening.
Great, thank you very much. So next up, we have Charlize.
Hello, my name is Charlize Calloway. I am a sophomore majoring in computer science at Norfolk State University. Let me go to next. All right, so my research project is a comparison of top machine learning-based practical intrusion detection reported by 3 large language models tools. All right, so my introduction is large language models tools such as ChatGPT, Gemini, and DeepSeek are being increasingly utilized in business, education, and cybersecurity. However, these models may provide different answers to the same question due to variations in their architecture, training data, and response generation methods. This presentation examines how 3 LLMs respond to a query about top practical intrusion detection systems and compares their outputs to illustrate the variability and uncertainty among their responses. Next page. All right, so machine learning in intrusion detection systems, or IDS. So machine learning, it enables computers to learn from data and make decisions or predictions without being explicitly programmed to do so. Intrusion detection systems monitor networks and systems for suspicious activity. So there are 2 main types of IDS. There is signature-based and then anonymity-based. So signature-based detects known attacks using predefined patterns, and anonymity-based detect unknown or emerging threats by identifying unusual behavior. Next page. So machine learning techniques in IDS. So there are 2 types. There's supervised learning and then unsupervised learning. Supervised learning is a method that is trained on labeled data where inputs and expected outputs are known. Unsupervised learning analyzes unlabeled data to identify new threats. It's commonly used for anonymity detection in cybersecurity. These techniques enables IDS to predict, detect, and respond to cyber threats more efficiently. Next page. So for this project, I used 3 LLMs, ChatGPT, DeepSeek, and Gemini. So ChatGPT was developed by OpenAI. DeepSeek was developed by a Chinese AI firm, and then Gemini was created by Google. Next page. So the methodology that I use, I asked each of the LMMs to provide a ranked list of the most practical machine learning-based intrusion detection systems and briefly describe each. Next page. So this is my results that I got from each of the LMMs. I put in a table from the ranking from 1 to 10. If you look kind of briefly at it, you'll see that you see similar IDSs and maybe in all of them or like a few of them. Next slide. So I did more of a visual table for it where I show you that which ones is in all of them or that appears in some. The main ones that do appear in all of them is IDM, Q Radar, Vector AI, Cisco Secure, and Darktrace. Next page. So this is just a main glance of the IDSs that appeared in all of them, which was IDM, QDR, Vector AI, Cisco Secure, and then Darktrace. So Vector AI and Darktrace, they're kind of new in the field, but they're more AI driven, while IDM QDR and Cisco Secure is more IDS. Next page. Okay, so my conclusion for this research was to compare the practical machine learning-based intrusion detection systems reported by the three large language models, which was ChatGPT, DeepSeek, and Gemini. Common IDS tools like IDM, QDR, Darktrace, Cisco, and then Vector AI appear consistently across the rankings, indicating that their broad industry recognition and effectiveness in cybersecurity. Machine learning-based IDS are becoming an essential part of modern cybersecurity, providing more adaptive and real-time threat detection capabilities. LLMs, while offering different perspectives and rankings, highlight the importance of evaluating IDS tools based on various performance criteria. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. So next up, we have James.
Hi, my name is James Elmore. I'm a junior at William & Mary studying math and computer science. Next slide, please. So today I'm going to talk about a model I built to perform intrusion detection called FIDS, which stands for Feature Intrusion Detection System. Next slide. So next slide. Traditional intrusion detection systems, like Charlize just talked about, typically analyze complete network flows. A network flow is just a set of packets between a client and a server in a single communication. So next bullet. This is a good system most of the time, but because they analyze a complete network flow, this causes a significant delay when looking for slow denial of service attacks. Next bullet, like slow LoRaS and slow HTTP test. These attacks, they work by slowly keeping connections open for extended periods of time to exhaust server resources, and they are often harder to detect than other denial of service attacks because they rely on basically simulating a large number of very slow network connections instead of blasting a server with traffic it can't handle all at once and trying to crash it. But we can't analyze the false flow like a traditional IDS would because the flow will probably end around the time that the whole attack does, and then it doesn't really matter if you've detected it. So next one. Can we achieve efficient intrusion detection using only the early packets that are sent through in the flow? Next slide. So next slide. Methodology, analyze the SICK IDS dataset, which has close to 3 million flows. And the important thing here was our feature selection approach, because this is flow level data, but there are a lot of features that we can grab from it that we know can be figured out from just the first few packets in the network flow. So first packet features, there were 4 of these. Next, such as destination point, initial window bytes, doesn't really matter what that is. And that's all exactly in the first packet we know immediately. That wasn't incredibly informative on its own, but thankfully, these slow attacks have a large number of packets, just spread out a while. So we can estimate a lot of other features by looking at a small number of packets in the beginning instead of waiting for the entire flow. So average packet length, say you just take the first 15 packets, average their length, you've got the mean. Same thing with bytes per second. And then, of course, for reference, we analyze all the flow features in the data set. We're about 80, and this is what our model would predict if it was given all the available data, like traditional approaches, just as a baseline. So next. Our model, we use a random forest with hyperparameter optimization. Random forest is just a collection of a large number of decision trees, which each come to a separate decision and then they vote on the classification. We employed a wide variety of regularization methods to make sure that this model would actually generalize well, such as bootstrap sampling and class weighting. Bootstrap sampling works by training each individual tree on a randomly selected subset of the total data set so that the trees are all different, because the voting is only helpful if they are all looking at different things. So we do that and a few other things to encourage the trees to select as different as possible decision boundaries. However, we also have to deal with class weighting. There's a very severe class imbalance in any kind of denial of service data set, just because most of your traffic is going to be benign traffic. So we have to weight the data classes that contain attack data a lot more heavily in order to actually update on them enough to detect anything. So next slide. I can show you our results here. A reference fall flow model, you can see, got really high scores across the board, and then few packet got slightly lower, of course, because it had less information, and first packet got significantly lower. But what I want you to notice is that there's a very small difference between the accuracy, precision, and recall of the few packet and the full flow models, which suggests that we can get most of the information we need from the beginning, which is really helpful for something like a slow loss attack. Precision and recall are both helpful for measuring false positive and false negative rates. False positives are really bad in cybersecurity because, again, most of your traffic will be benign traffic, so just accidentally flagging your users as malicious too often is pretty bad. Precision is the proportion of correctly classified positive samples, and so we want that to be really high to minimize false positives. So we've done that pretty well here. As you can see, the precision difference is pretty negligible. Next slide. There are several different kinds of attacks that were in this data set, and this is a comparison of precision and recall for each one. As you can see, we do really well on benign traffic because there's just so much of it, and then also do really well on DDoS and DOS attacks, especially slow HTTP test and slow LoRa's. This is great because that's what we were trying to do. You'll notice it doesn't do so well on web attacks like SQL injection and cross-site scripting. This is because they are mostly attacking by going through specific vulnerabilities in a web page or in a database connection. They're not actually, they're not as visible in network traffic directly, so it's harder to detect them. Through this method, you'd have to do something else. Next slide. And just to compare this to work that other people have done, no one has really investigated this few packet approach that I've described, but the best overall performance on this type of IDS detection that I could find was by Wang et al. 1 or 2 years ago, and did not quite beat them on accuracy, as you can see, but did beat them on precision. But we have to remember is we only use, these are the few packet model numbers. We only use about 16 features in our model. They use 32 and a much more complicated convolutional neural network with a novel form of convolution called tide block convolution that they invent for it. Whereas we just use a random forest with a lot less data. So I think there's probably even more room to grow in the future. Next slide. So in conclusion, achieved high performance on intrusion detection for DOS attacks, using a lot less data than other approaches, and using a random forest, which is a very easy model to run fast and on hardware without high computational abilities. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, James. Next up, we have Giovanna.
Hi, it's Giovanni Sese. Hi,
Okay.
I'm a senior at Old Dominion University, pursuing a degree in cybersecurity. And I did my paper on the evolution of Russian and Chinese disinformation tactics and the threat they pose to US cybersecurity. Right. Disinformation from Russia and China targets the US society, exploiting vulnerabilities in political and social issues. These tactics have evolved from traditional methods to more covert internal threats aimed at weakening the nation from within. Next slide. One early campaign, Operation Infection, spread false claims that the US created HIV/AIDS. This information damaged the US credibility globally and set the stage for more modern attacks. Next slide. During the 2008 financial crisis, Russia and China used state media to discredit the US economy. Russia aimed to undermine global trust while China promoted its own economy model as superior on its time. Next slide. In recent years, Russia and China have spread false claims like bioweapon labs conspiracies in other countries and use tools like deepfakes and social media profiles to interfere in US elections, further destabilizing the country. Next slide. Modern campaigns now target social divisions within the US, amplifying tensions and creating distrust. These attacks aim to weaken our society from within. These evolving tactics reveal new vulnerabilities in US cybersecurity, requiring not only protection from cyber attacks, but also defense against the manipulation of public opinion. To fight these threats, governments, tech companies, and cybersecurity teams have to collaborate. Additionally, the public has to be educated on how to recognize disinformation and deepfakes. In conclusion, this information has shifted from external influence to internal disruptions. The US must strengthen cybersecurity to protect against these modern threats and ensure national stability.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. Thank
Okay,
you.
great. Thank you very much. Next up, we have Joey.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joey Whitmore. I'm from ODU. I'm a senior studying cybersecurity, minor criminal justice. And today we're going to be talking about mitigating elder fraud by just using cybersecurity frameworks or even just using sample data to help create future tools. So next slide, please. So introducing the problem. What I've seen in Chesapeake, Virginia, where I get all my sample sizes from, elder fraud has become a significant and growing concern in today's society. We don't want to leave the old people, I don't want to say old people, but we don't want to leave elderly people uh, in the past as we evolve as a society. And I just wanted to be able to create frameworks and safeguards for them to recognize online scams, phishing scams, phone scams, and there's a significant amount of emotional and physical duress that can come from emotional or from scams in general. So next slide, please. As we see, the IC3 index actually shows the different percentages of scams by people over 60 that my fault, I'm lagging on my end. That IC3 data shows that people over 60 actually get increasingly over $1 billion in investment scams as of 2023, and almost a billion, half a billion of tech support scams. Just two of them that I want to point out. And there are over almost a billion or just at $500 million, how much we're losing to scams. Next slide, please. So this is some of the primary data that I collected. Some of the survey data that I've gotten was on the left side shows people under 60, and are we actually discussing some of these cybersecurity threats with our elderly people or people over 60? And as we see, 52.9% of my sample data actually only contact them when a major threat arises. And the bottom one on that left side actually shows people under 60. Yeah, under 60. Do they actually know what the IC3 is, or the Internet Crime Complaint Center actually is? And majority of them said no. And on this right side, we see people over 60. Couldn't get a big enough sample with the time constraint I had for this project, but rarely we see, it says, how often do family members support you with internet safety? We see a rare amount of people actually contact them to keep them updated what's going on in the world. And just below that, we also see that from my sample size, nobody over 60 in the Chesapeake area of my sample size actually knew about the IC3 at all. Next slide, please. So a way that we can combat this misinformation or disinformation or knowledge gap between elders and us is to create a cybersecurity framework that is very simplified. I actually created this cybersecurity framework, this NIST framework that's very simplified for people over 60. Basically what it goes through, I didn't want to put the whole thing up there, but basically what it goes through is same thing as regular NIST: protect. I thought I'm lagging again. You want to protect, identify, recover, detect, and respond to threats. When we do this, we can actually be able to, one, with protection, we can establish tools and habits that lessen our susceptibility, and use strong passwords and enable multi-factor authentication, little things like that to lessen the fraud chance. From my detection standpoint, we can just look out for unusual charges, login alerts, or unsolicited messages to install monitoring tools as they're appropriate, and have to be able to respond to have a plan for a cyber incident, and basically learn to report scams to the Internet Crime Complaint Center, report it to banks or service providers immediately as well, and be able to harvest and record any nefarious messaging. And we want to be able to we make sure that we can recover by shifting our focus and implement measures to avert repetition of such scenarios. And we want to be able to restore our effective accounts and learn from the incident and update our security practices. Next slide, please. Another plan that I found is something actually being pushed by our local government. Virginia actually has a cybersecurity plan that actually goes over how they want to implement different elements of cybersecurity within a enterprise level. I wanted to highlight this here because this was a very good standpoint that I think we can actually be moving to a good standpoint in the future when talking cybersecurity. And I feel like with the state government implementing their own cybersecurity plan, it will allow us to be more informed citizens, and we'll be able to grow as a society in terms of cybersecurity knowledge. Next slide. These are all my references, so you know I'm not making some of this stuff up. That's it. Appreciate y'all for listening.
Great. Thank you, Joey. Next up, we have Lily.
Hello, my name is Lily Werschvale. I'm a freshman at William and Mary. I'm interested in public policy, philosophy, and data science. Next slide, please. So my research this semester focused on summarizing and comparing the disinformation campaigns of state versus non-state actors, with a special focus on Russia and ISIS in case studies. And I also considered the implications of AI-enabled disinformation. Next slide, please. So for my summary of state actors, I looked at Russia as a case study. For Russia's state-funded global messaging, official government communication platforms use the Russian embassy's social media accounts to spread misleading statements. Another characteristic of the disinformation ecosystem is Kremlin-backed media outlets that are embedded in global communication networks. The two most influential examples are Russia Today and Sputnik. And despite equating themselves with transparent, independent journalism, they reflect the Kremlin's talking points. Also, for proxy sources, these are Russia-aligned outlets with a global reach that serve as an intermediate between the Kremlin and various geographies, and they tend to publish Western fringe thinkers and conspiracy theorists. And both these media outlets and proxy sources have been known to place malware on their websites and manipulate web traffic to amplify conspiracy theories. Next slide, please. For my non-state actor analysis, I looked at ISIS as a case study. ISIS systematically prioritizes influence missions and disinformation campaigns. They have two divisions dedicated to propaganda. One is focused on presenting the Islamic State as a utopic society, and the other division is more focused on fear and aggression-driven campaigning. Recruitment strategies tend to target 16 to 25-year-olds in the West who don't have a strong sense of identity, and messaging tends to focus on the adventure, community, and personal power implied to be part of joining ISIS. And ISIS has embraced social media as a recruitment tool and weapon of psychological warfare, and it's enabled them to shift from local to international propaganda campaigns. Next slide, please. Now, to compare between actors, the ultimate core mission for both state and non-state actors is to threaten the stability of society, but non-state actors tend to focus more on recruitment, while state focuses more on changing perception and delegitimizing rivals. One Russian defector said that the goal was to change the perception of reality of every American. For resources, both non-state and state actors have fully invested in social media and cyber-enabled disinformation. But non-state does tend to embrace social media more as a more grassroots campaign method, and state actors like Russia have access to a greater diversity of resources, including more traditional modes. And with decisions to target, the targeting is now on a global scale because of social media. And as I mentioned with ISIS, campaigns tend to target those with a weak sense of identity, and Western recruits follow similar patterns of isolation from society. Next slide, please. Now, considering the implications of AI disinformation campaigns, AI disinformation lowers the entry threshold for actors by giving them more potent tools for creating deceptive content, which will increase the intensity and scalability of these disinformation campaigns. Last year was a significant year for elections worldwide, and many were concerned that AI-enabled disinformation would fully threaten the stability of these elections. This ended up being more negligible than we thought, but it's still a threat. And the EU Commission Vice President likened AI-enabled disinformation to an atomic bomb. And in 2022, there was a case with an Israeli hacking firm called Team Jorge that claimed to manipulate elections across Africa and South America. And in recent months, some terrorist organizations have released guidelines on how to use AI to develop propaganda and disinformation. Moving forward, I think it's important to note that the future of disinformation is fully cyber-enabled, and disinformation poses a unique cyber threat because it targets individuals specifically, and it targets our perception of reality. Next slide, please. That's all I have in the 5 minutes. Thank you for your time.
Great. Thank you very much, Love. Next up, we have Manzi.
Hello, can you hear me?
Can you speak up?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me now?
That's better. Okay.
Okay. So yeah, my name is Monzi Sibo. I'm a sophomore here at Christopher Newport University, and I'm studying cybersecurity. Next slide, please. Yeah, so my presentation today is going to be on just exploring the training data landscape for AI-based threat hunting and how it can be used to protect intellectual property. Next slide, please. So just a simple introduction. As we all know, cybercrime is increasing by the year, more and more, and common forms of like in traditional threat hunting is becoming more and more inadequate, and cyber criminals specifically oftentimes target intellectual property. And IP, put simply, is just a result of creativity and can range anywhere from copyrights to trademarks and patents. So a simple scenario that happened a couple years ago, a major company that has very valuable proprietary data that gives you an edge against your competitors. One of your employees leaves the company and becomes an insider threat, leaking data to your competitor that hired him. So this was in 2022, a man named Kieran Slang, who worked for Yahoo. He was fired and he went to a different job that was pretty much Yahoo's competitors, and he leaked a bunch of data that they had. And so Yahoo lost a competitive edge in the market. And so the goal of my research is to present how machine learning and integration of artificial intelligence in the act of threat hunting could improve the protection of digital information, especially IP. Next slide, please. So specifically how it could be used for predictive analytics. So Dr. Keith Reddy, one of the scholars that I've studied this, a professional in this field, he stated that traditional methods, like I said earlier, are fast proving inadequate in view of the increasingly sophisticated persistent cyber attacks. So this integration of AI would result in greater analysis and higher volumes of network data in real time and detect anomaly patterns, more accurate predictions of potential threats. And so this would be accomplished specifically through the two tools, machine learning and predictive analysis. Next slide, please. And so, yeah, machine learning simply is, like Ben stated earlier, is AI that just allows computers to learn from data and improve over time without being explicitly programmed. And predictive analysis uses historical data, machine learning, statistical techniques to forecast future, and is commonly used to anticipate trends and detect decision making. So some of the examples, so specifically for intellectual property, machine learning could scan to find fake products and logos online, and could compare the real to the counterfeit, and could also send alerts specifically to an operation. And predictive analysis could use tools to figure out sites that would most likely break these IP laws. And an example is like Nike, for example. If there's a website that is like using any of their logos or designs, they could predictive analysis would be able to detect those type of things. Next, please. So with AI, the preventive strategies, threat hunting could also be used to be proactive and not just reactive. It would improve accuracy, speed, and detecting malicious activity in environments like security logs and user sessions. Integration with the SIEM system would strengthen the infrastructure, and test results that many companies have resulted from this would be just detection rates for like phishing and insider threats and ransomware would increase without the risk of false positives, and also significant reductions in data breach, financial loss response time, and system downtime. How it would help operations center capabilities. Much of what threat hunting does are routine tasks and often result in human error. So with the integration of AI, it would decrease in the routine tasks and also, reduce false positives and complex incidents, improving overall operational efficiency. Some potential issues in deployment of the AI would be like issues like data quality, privacy concerns, and resource requirements. But to ensure compatibility, intelligence feeds, logs, and network traffic data are comprehensive and properly structured for machine learning models to learn effectively. Next, please. And so important use of Python and AI for threat hunting. Python is a very simple and flexible programming language, as many of us know, and it makes it a favorite for AI implications. And three main frameworks that professionals highlight for machine learning and deep learning that are supported by Python are TensorFlow, PyTorch, and Keras. Python can be used to create predictive models that can analyze large data sets in real time, which allows early detection for cyber attacks. And an example would be a training machine learning model with labeled data of phishing and non-phishing emails, and Python scripts would be able to scan those emails and specifically identify whether or not it could be posed as a threat to the organization. Next, please. And these are my references. Thank you for listening.
Great, thank you very much. Next up, we have Mattia.
Hello, my name is pronounced Matea, Matea Trotter Hicks. I am a student at Norfolk State University, and my major is computer science cybersecurity. So what I did my paper on is basically a question for anyone that has any questions about it. It's pretty much how can we improve our security measures to safeguard against cyber threats. Next slide. This is like a little intro towards my paper. Once anyone gets the chance to actually read the paper, basically it will say, in my paper, I chose to write the importance of people having knowledge of how to better secure their devices from attacks. I've covered ways for people to keep themselves safe. I also did a little background story of, others can know the victim's feelings. And I also showed statistics and facts. Next slide. In my research, I noticed some people do not talk too much about their jobs too much when it comes to securing their information and stuff. The three things that I feel like is more important is the person's job title, and workplace. When I think of job, I'm meaning in a more high maintenance job. So anything during the, I would say, school system or government wise is very important. So for those jobs, I feel like they secure it, of course, but other jobs doesn't really secure the information as much. Depending on the person's job title, I feel like there's not enough acknowledgement of different ways that a person can hack or threaten their information, far as trying to get into their data and stuff like that. The workplace, I feel like it should be more training and stuff like that in place for people to learn the different risks that there can be. I do know some school systems, also my school at Norfolk State, they sometimes send out emails to see if anybody will reply to them. Lately, there have been job emails to see if any students will reply to the email. And of course, those that are in computer science, they know not to respond to those emails. Certain things look a little off, but not everybody knows that. There should be more practices within the school and also workplace to better prepare others for the consequences that can happen. Next slide. I have noticed that there is a couple apps out there that can help others to better secure their data and stuff like that to make sure they don't get hacked. I have noticed a lot of people in my class use McAfee, if I'm pronouncing it right, on their computers. There are also other ways to secure your phones as well, and tablets. There's passwords. You can also download more apps to make sure that you are not, pretty much pressing on the wrong things when it comes to shopping or anything like that. At this point of time, I feel like it's not just based on the person's age, it's based on if the person has the knowledge not to press on something that looks a little risky on apps or anything. So I do know some people do love to shop and people like to go with the cheaper route than the more expensive route. So people tend to press on things that does not occur to the website that they're on. And then they, get into the part where they are getting hacked or anything, if that can make sense. Next slide. As you can see, I have like a breakdown of everything. I found this within my research that is different percentages of how people get ransomware hacked and stuff like that. And as you can see, there are 6 different ways. Of course, the highest way is the spamming way. Once again, that can also be towards your emails that you can get spammed. There are other ways, but I mostly found research on emails and such things like that. And that's about it. Next slide. The end.
Great, thank you very much. So next up, Mo, have you joined us? I know Mo had another commitment. Okay, I'm going to skip Mo. If you're there, let me know and we'll come back. So I'm going to run through his slides real quick to get to the next presenter. All right, next up we have Nathan.
Hello everyone. My name is Nathan Hallberg. I'm a freshman at Old Dominion University, and I'm hoping to get my degree in cybersecurity come spring 2028. And to start my presentation, I'm talking about shaped adversarial patches and the power that they can hold. Next slide. Throughout this presentation, I will be talking about the YOLO computer vision, shaped adversarial patches, and applications these patches being used, as well as the process of creating these patches. Next slide. So the YOLO algorithm is an algorithm that can pick up it's fed images, and it processes these images by putting them on an SS grid, seeing all the boxes, and then classifying these boxes. So for the final detections, we can see that it has noticed a dog, a bike, and a car. It goes through, on the picture below, it goes through all these layers to process this and go through and figure out what type of class these images contain. Next slide. So if we can look at all these examples in the top left, this is the United States military using patches to cover planes. So certain, like for example, Russia, their computer vision would not be able to detect this plane with a patch on it. It might be classified as something else or not even pop up on the system at all. In the top right corner, we can see how the computer algorithm can notice the person, but the guy wearing the patch, it's unrecognizable due to the patch that he's wearing. And in the left corner, there are multiple different patches. This one is used pie slice with different colors. This one to the right up top is a teddy bear. And to the left are other just images that are created through a Python code and create these patches that computers cannot pick up. To the right, there's also, we can see how it notices the dog, bench, person, handbag, and then with the gray patches with no color yet, it's still able to recognize it. But once the patches get color added to them, the computer cannot pick up this algorithm. This can be used to hide things such as license plates or just to be not seen by computer algorithms. And for the next slide. To determine what the patch can read, there's a process where the patch is rotated, scaled, noise, brightness, or contrast, applied to the data set, and then ran through the algorithm where it can no longer pick it up. Then through this, you can determine the object loss or class loss of the image. Next slide. And through this, I decided to make a code to the left. This is creating the patch. Through this, you get the height and width. You generate it, and then you put a random image. It will go through as a gray patch and come out. And to the right, there's gray to RGB, which means adding color to the patch. And through this, the patch is randomly assigned colors through the shapes that is created, and then randomly filled with colors. And through this, as the patch is shown in the previous slide, the outcome can be determined by any one of those patches. The teddy bear patch is a different process, and you have to code it differently, but still. Through this, the computers are not able to recognize what images are on it, and it creates problems, but it also creates solutions for certain things. And yeah, that's it. Thank you very much, y'all.
Okay, great, thank you. So next up we have is Ruth.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ruth Johnson. I currently attend VPCC, and I'm studying information system technology. Next slide, please. As I stated, I'm Ruth Johnson. My research paper is on phishing attacks and preventions. Next slide. Phishing attacks are cyber crimes where one or many individuals steal sensitive information, like passwords, credit card information, and even social security numbers. Phishing attacks have been the #1 leading cause of identity theft and financial theft since 1990. The internet is one of the leading places where individuals' identity is stolen. Next slide, please. Okay, Lucid is a phishing as a platform ran by Chinese criminal organization called Xinxin. Lucid is behind waves of iOS and Android SMS attacks. Lucid have been targeting 169 entities in 88 countries using well-crafted messages sent via iMessage and Android. It was established in 2023. Lucid is a phishing as a service platform. Next slide, please. Okay, phishing attacks are a particular type of cybercrime. There are many different types of phishing attacks. There's many. I listed 3 here, so I'm going to go quickly through the 3. Next slide, please. Hypertext transfer protocol phishing is a type of phishing scam that uses hidden links. These links direct users to an attacker's websites where users' data can be collected and stored when clicked. Malicious software attacks included virus, worm, trojans, and ransomware infiltrates devices with the intent to steal data or cause system damage. Delusive phishing, fraudsters uses various methods to deceive website visitors. They send phishing emails asking users to verify their accounts by clicking links or buttons. These links lead to websites where fraudsters collect personal data. So for instance, you can get an email from Amazon, though the logo looks like Amazon is slightly off, and it says that your account has been hacked. The minute you click on the link, they have your information. Next slide, please. How can we prevent cyber attacks on our businesses and personal life? For starters, we should use strong password management and multi-factor authentication for complex passwords. Install and update security software, antivirus programs, and anti-malware tools regularly. Educate individuals on safe practices. Don't click on ads or provide information to strangers. And the #1, which I know a lot of people do, use passwords that are so easy, like birthdays or their parents' birthdays. Let's try not to do that. Use passwords that are not easily guessable, like birthdays, social security numbers, or anniversaries. Protect your social media password and username. Next. In conclusion, staying vigilant and aware of online threats is paramount in the fight against phishing attacks on the internet. We should definitely be cautious by understanding common phishing tactics, utilizing appropriate internet tools, and following best practices. Individuals can significantly reduce their risk of falling victim to these scams. Reporting suspicious activities and staying informed about the latest threats are also crucial for preventing further attacks and protecting others from harm. In the ever-evolving digital landscape, A proactive and informed approach is the most effective way to safeguard ourselves and our communities from the pervasive threats of phishing. As AI advances and criminals become more sophisticated, we must be cautious about what we share, with whom we share, and where we share. Let's outsmart cyber criminals by being vigilant. Thank you for everything.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Ruth. So did Mo Mavens join us? Give him another second. I don't see all the people online. Okay, so it doesn't look like he did. So thank you all very much for presenting today. I'm going to open this up for a second to anybody, if any of our mentors or guests that are on have anything to say. But a couple things. I'm going to send an email either tomorrow or early next week. They'll have a link to the survey. There's a QR code here. I would appreciate if you fill out the survey, basically what you liked about the program, what you didn't like, how it could be improved. I am running this program again for fall of next, so fall of 25. The application is out now, so please let your friends and colleagues know about it. I don't normally accept repeat students in the program, but if you feel like you want to continue with the research, submit another application if you want to do that. And then for those that have not already uploaded your papers to the ODU Digital Commons, make sure you do that. That was in that check-in number 2 email, and previous emails I provided you the link, but again, it's provided here. And just to let you know the impact that this program has had, the picture in the middle of the world map, that shows out of 120 in total papers that have been uploaded in the ODU Digital Commons, 37,632 views, and we had 27,000 of those in the last year. So the papers that you guys are submitting are getting read around the world. Now, what people are doing with your information, I'm not quite sure, but it does put you out there. It does put you on your accessible, your research is accessible on the internet through the ODU Digital Commons. So I think it's a great resource for you to push through. So make sure you walk through that and submit your papers that way. I'm processing the payments. I'm asking those payments for your stipends to be made by beginning of May. So if you don't receive anything, please let me know. And you should have completed all your direct deposit information already and submitted that. And if you have not, you need to reach out to me and I'll send you the links again for that. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to open it up to questions that anybody has. I see a couple comments popped in. So I just wanted to see if anybody, I see Mo. Mo, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry,
Do
can you hear
want
me
me to,
now?
I can pull up your presentation real quick if you want.
Yeah, if you don't
Okay.
mind. Sorry,
Yeah,
everyone.
I
just got out of
appreciate it.
class.
Sorry. Yeah, let me hold it. If everybody can stand by, it'll take another 5 minutes or so, and then we'll run through with everybody else. So let me reset my screen here, Mo. So thank you.
Okay.
Glad you made it.
Sorry, everyone.
No, you're fine. I know you're doing some important things. So Mo's doing another project that I managed too. So he's doing some other work for me. So, all right, let me go back up. Just bear with me. I'll get there. Here we go. We're getting close. There we are. All right.
Awesome.
Go ahead. It's on you.
All right. Thank you very much, John. Yeah, so my name is Mo, or you can call me Mohammed Mavens. I'm a senior here at Old Dominion University. I'm studying cybersecurity and also biology, and I'm looking to graduate T minus, I think, like 21 days. So I'm pretty excited about that. And yeah, we can go ahead and start. So this is my presentation. I was able to be under the supervision of Dr. Jeremiah Still, who I've been a part of the Human Factors Lab for 3 years now. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So the topic of my paper is leveraging artificial intelligence AI to strengthen human resilience against phishing attacks. So basically, I'm looking at how AI can help us not only detect phishing threats, but also train people to avoid falling for them. As we know, phishing in general is a huge cybersecurity problem, especially now. cyber criminals basically send fake emails, links, or websites that look legitimate but are actually designed to steal things like your password, credit card information, and depending on where you are, your company data. There's some different types of phishing listed here. Email phishing. There's spear phishing, which is more targeted and personal. You have whaling, which targets high profile targets like CEOs, CIOs, things of that nature. There's vishing, which is voice phishing. So like people calling you, leaving voicemails, things of that nature. And then there's normal smishing, which is like the SMS text messages. And I did a little bit of research, and it was actually in 2024, it was reported that 64% of companies said that they've been hit by business email compromise, or BECs, which is a form of phishing where attackers pretend to be someone that you trust, like a boss or coworker, and trick you into sending information to them. So this is a real threat, and it is definitely still growing. And that's why it's important not only just to rely on filters or anti software items, but also to start using and leveraging tools like AI that can keep up with how these attacks are evolving. Next slide, please. So now let's talk about how AI actually helps with phishing detection. So AI uses tools like machine learning, which means it can learn from past phishing examples, and it also uses natural language processing, or also known as NLP, which helps it understand how language is used in emails. So AI can, right now, can read and analyze the content of messages and look for like anything that seems suspicious or weird. So like certain wording, unusual links, and like sender behavior that doesn't necessarily match the normal patterns. And what's cool about it is that AI just doesn't follow like a fixed set of rules like previous older spam filters. It can actually adapt in real time to these new phishing attacks. And that's obviously really important because hackers are always coming up with, new ways to trick people. And we need a system that learns as it goes to catch more of these evolving threats. And one thing to mention is an issue with regular filters having false positive, which is basically actual emails getting flagged as like a phishing email. So AI helps reduce these false positives by being more precise, and it just makes the system more trustworthy and less frustrating to the users. Next slide, please. All right, so we just talked about how AI helps detect phishing on the technical side, but it's also really useful for helping people avoid falling for these attacks. So one way it does this is through AI-driven training. So companies can basically set up systems that automatically send fake phishing emails to employees. These are safe. Of course, they're just like tests, essentially, fake phishing emails that are being sent out. But what they help us show is basically it shows who clicks on the suspicious links, or the information that's being given out. And it also determines who needs more training. So it's kind of like a fire drill, but in cybersecurity terms. And then there's also behavioral tracking. So this means that AI keeps an eye on how users behave online. So like if someone in a company tends to click links without thinking or opens a lot of emails from unknown senders, the AI system can flag that person as more at risk. And that way the company can offer them like more focused, personalized training to help them stay safe and keep the information protected. And lastly is real-time guidance, which is another very powerful tool. So let's say you get like a sketchy email. AI can actually step in and give you a heads up, like a warning email before you make the mistake of clicking the link. So it might warn you that, hey, this sender looks suspicious, or the link that you received has been flagged before. So all of this just makes people more aware and confident when it comes to spotting phishing emails. Next slide, please. And then you could click it one more time, I believe. So in terms of like right now, AI is extremely helpful, but it's not perfect. There's obviously still some challenges that we have to deal with because it's still new. The first thing is that as AI is evolving, attackers are also getting smarter too. So they've found ways to manipulate AI systems through something called adversarial attacks, which is basically they can slightly change how phishing email looks, so it slips right past through the AI filters and is recognized as a real email. So while AI learns from these patterns, hackers are also learning how to beat these and get through these AI systems. So it's kind of like a cat and mouse game. And next, for AI to work well, or sorry, back. For next, you're good. Yeah, for AI to work well, it needs high quality training data. So that essentially just means a ton of real examples of both phishing and safe emails, just loading the AI system to recognize, what's real and what is fake. And then another thing to keep in mind is that when AI is tracking these like user behavior and analyzing emails, in some of these cases, it is handling personal and sometimes sensitive information like PII. So that kind of raises the questions about how much data we should collect it, who has access to it, how it can be stored. So we just have to make sure that these tools, these AI tools, are protecting user information. Next, please. All right, so to wrap everything up, AI has really improved how we detect and respond to phishing attacks. Obviously, it's not like the picture perfect 100% solution. It does help us, spot scams faster and more accurately, but it can still make mistakes. And this is because attackers and bad actors are constantly finding ways to get around it. And that's why we can't rely just on AI. The best approach, based on my research, is combining this AI with human education and awareness. So giving the users the tools and the knowledge to make smarter decisions is, in my opinion, just as important as the technology itself. And also, I think that companies should really invest in both sides of the equation, that being AI-driven security systems and also ongoing training for employees. That way, they're not only like stopping the threats with technology, but they're also building like a workforce that knows how to spot and avoid the phishing attempts in the first place. So the main point that I want to leave with everyone here is that although AI is a powerful tool, it is most effective based on the research I've conducted when people are educated and aware. So when we combine the smart technology with smart users, we create the strongest defense against phishing attacks for now and also for the future to come. Thank you very much for listening.
Great. Thank you, Mo. Appreciate it. So again, going back, I want to thank everybody again for all the work you've been doing on this. And as I was stating, for the students, the stipend checks hopefully will be direct deposited around the beginning of May. If you don't get anything, let me know. If you have not submitted all the information you needed to get paid, it's going to delay it. So I've asked for my contacts in the finance to find out who hasn't provided everything. So in case you get an email, just follow up with it. And then I want to open up to questions and comments. I wanted to see if any of our mentors, I see there's several on, if they have any comments they want to make about the program or if there's any questions. So I'll just open it up for questions, comments at this point. I'm getting a lot of chats. So great job. Thank you. for everybody. So does anybody have anything they want to say? Again, students or mentors? If not, we'll wrap it up. So. Yeah, I see Jeremiah popped his head on. Okay. Jeremiah, you want to go first? I saw you pop up first. You're on mute.
I didn't even know. I was hitting the button just to tell everybody good job. I enjoyed the talks that I can make. I just came after class, but it's always encouraging to hear everybody tackling these difficult problems. And so I look forward to following some of your careers. So.
Great. Thanks. And thanks for the support. And Saltuk?
I just want to thank you too, John. You have organized all this, and as always, thank you for all your efforts for the research for everyone. And I saw some overlapping topics, so I hope that students can also reach out to each other, maybe for a continuous work on these topics.
Yeah, absolutely. Malik, you have anything?
Yeah, great job, everybody. I got on late, I had class, so I'm glad to catch half of them. I've been working with John for my 3 years at ODU. It's good to see ODU students and other universities and colleges on board. So keep being great and look forward to seeing more research from you guys.
Great. Thanks. So again, for all the students, great work. Again, the papers are all going to be posted on the Digital Commons. If you do that, I'm also on the COVA CCI website under the cybersecurity page. I post the links to your papers there. And your presentations. I'll probably include a copy of the video of the recording on the COVA CCI website also. And again, as I was saying, we're running this program again in the fall. So please let your fellow students know about it and to apply. Anything that I submit out through COVA CCI, it's normally funding provided behind it for the students that participate. So it's always a great thing to get paid for the work you're doing. Also, I would encourage you all to be involved with whatever cybersecurity or student group you have at your university. And we also host the Coastal Virginia Cybersecurity Student Association, which is kind of an umbrella group that's trying to connect with all of the regional universities to bring students together. They run a Capture the Flag event. They ran it last March, Christopher Newport, CyberForge. They also do speaking series throughout the fall semester. So if you want more information about it or you haven't heard about it, send me an email and just say, hey, I want to find out about that student group you talked about, and I'll connect you with them. So the idea is to build this community. Hopefully you guys will take a look at each other's papers as you get posted on the website and on the Digital Commons site. Take a look at it if you find common interest. It's one way we're trying to do that. And we're trying to bring students from multiple institutions together. You may, like I said, you might be working on similar topics and you might be able to develop that. If you work with your mentor, I don't want to speak for them, but if you pitch an idea to them, you might be able to take some of this research and turn it into a conference presentation or a journal entry, a paper entry. So continue if that's something you want to do, push forward on that too. So thank you all very much. Barring any other questions, I think we're done. And I appreciate all the work you guys did on this, and have a great rest of your semester. To the students that are graduating, congratulations on the work you've done, and good luck with your future. I'm on LinkedIn if you want to look me up if I haven't connected with you already. I send a lot of information out through LinkedIn on what we're doing. And I also support things you guys. If there's something you've done you want recognized and you post it on LinkedIn, I'll be happy to repost it or comment on it and amplify it, especially for those that are looking for work. That's a great way to make some of those informal connections. So great work. I think we'll conclude with that. And best of luck with wherever you're going, whether it's academics or your career. And hopefully I'll see some of you again. So thank you all very much.
Thank you very much for this opportunity, Mr. Conzanzo.
Yep.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Thank you.